So we'll start off by introducing ourselves. I'm Lindsay Pisapio. I'm in my 5th year. I did IEP. I did ocean engineering and French. So my 4th year, I went to France, and I just got back. Yeah, that's me.
All right, I'm Kelly Domagala. I am Spanish IEP and Industrial and Systems Engineering, and I spent the last year in Zaragoza, Spain.
I am Jojo. I'm biomedical engineering and Italian, and I have not done my full year abroad yet, but I did spend June in Italy through a volunteer program.
I'm Josh. I'm German IEP and chemical engineering. I just came back from my year abroad in Braunschweig, where I studied, and now I'm back for my 5th year.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
So that's us.
I guess, first of all, in case anybody doesn't know, we'll give a very brief overview about the International Engineering Program itself. So it's a 5-year program. You will double major in both your engineering major of choice as well as your language of choice. And then you spend your entire 4th year abroad in the country that speaks your language. So for Spanish, you could choose between Chile and Spain, and then the other languages are that country.
So you can do Japanese, Spanish, French,
German,
Italian, German, and Chinese. And the year abroad, you do 6 months studying at a university there, at the sister university, and then 6 months internship.
And at the university, the classes are in the actual language of that country, not in English.
So it'll take some engineering classes in that language, and then some gen eds, depending on your curriculum.
Yeah, the curriculum is kind of designed to really improve your language, not make you feel lost. So it takes you from where you learned in URI, where your level was, and advance from there. You can only really improve when you're abroad.
And just in the chat, we do have a couple other ambassadors that aren't here, but they'll be posting some answers in the chat if you ask questions.
Yes.
Use the chat to ask questions. There was a little bit of a problem when we were testing this where you might have to make a channel through your a YouTube channel and actually log into YouTube with your URI email before it lets you comment. But as soon as you do that, it takes 2 seconds. Then you should be able to send any questions you have in the chat, and that's what we'll be answering. And then we have some topics to just talk about while we're
so we're looking at the comments, so we should be able to answer
comments
them
right up here. So
but just in case we can't get to them during this,
we have common questions that maybe we were wondering before we went abroad or before we chose the IEP.
So we do have one student question that was already asked, so I guess we'll start with that one. Yeah. So that was, what is the difference from going abroad your 4th year or going abroad your 5th year? And so the most common circumstance is to go abroad your 4th year. And there's a few reasons for that. You can also refer to the website policies, which will give you a more detailed description of what I'm basically going to summarize. So basically you go in your 4th year unless you get an exception to go in your 5th year. So some reasons for that might be students who transfer, swap majors, get behind on coursework, or need to work on proficiency. You could get an exception with an advisor recommendation, or if it's the requirements of a particular program. So Chinese flagship proficiency or varsity sports might have certain exceptions with that. It could depend on immigration status, or it could be an arrangement where the student has already more or less completed graduation requirements and then plans to stay there after their year abroad, which has happened in the past. So the possible issue with going abroad your 5th year would be that it affects your graduation date. So it could also affect financial aid depending on when your degree is actually conferred. So if you fail to pass a required class during your 5th year while abroad, you have no opportunity to make it up during your next year at URI. So that could delay the graduation timeline. And that in turn could affect the job application process for applying to jobs in the US, because you would miss campus recruiting sessions and companies might not be willing to wait to hire you, or certain things like that. So in general, most students will go their 4th year. That's how the program is built. You go abroad and then you come back, finish the classes you need to, and have and have a good time in your last year.
Yeah.
I
I think it's nice going your 4th year because you kind of get a little, not a break from engineering, but kind of a different like scene from URI and studying at URI, like engineering and stuff. Also, like you go your 4th year, you come back your 5th year, and you have that whole 5th year to look for jobs. And it's not like if you go your 5th year to the country abroad, it's not like you're there looking for a job, which might be kind of like sketchy with interviews and stuff.
Yeah, it could be, like Lindsay said, difficult.
Yeah. And you
to
don't
try to
have
do
the
that
opportunities
process.
to go to job fairs if you're abroad your 5th year.
So it's doable, but recommended do your
Not-
4th year.
Yeah, I'm happy I did not. I was actually thinking of doing it my 5th year because I wanted to like graduate with my friends and stuff. But I'm happy I chose 4th year because like you got that kind of break from URI and now you're back and I don't know, my friends can visit me or whatever. But
And the other thing is you make a lot of friends through the program itself. So a lot of my best friends also did a year abroad. So I am graduating with a lot of my best friends.
Mhm.
So that's another case that you'll probably, as you go through the process and as you get more into the program and, you know, once you're having the going abroad meetings, your 3rd year, that's when you really start to form a tight-knit group with all the other students who are going abroad in your language as well as in the other languages.
So you get one comment. It's not a question. It just says, wonderful program from Tatsushi Fukunaga. So
Shout out.
yeah, shout out to them. It is a wonderful program. We agree.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's the best decision I made at URI doing the IEP.
Yeah. This program was the reason I came to URI versus other schools. So if you're, you know, feeling the pressure, just know it's very doable. We all at one point or another feel like it's a lot. The visa application can be challenging, but it feels great to overcome it and then, you know, have the opportunity to do something that's very, very special and different. The other thing is this program really differentiates you from everyone else who's applying for jobs. A lot of employers will look at your resume and pinpoint this program immediately and ask about it.
It's got like a 98 or 99% like right out of graduation job or grad
Employment
school.
rate,
Yeah.
For like the first year.
Yeah, it's a very well recognized
Very
program
prestigious.
with a lot of companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I think the other university that does this is UConn. They do something similar to that, but other than that, URI is one of the most. It's like such a unique program, and many people come just to do this program.
Yeah,
specifically.
I mean, if you have like friends who went abroad, they usually just go abroad for 6 months, and they're probably taking class. They're probably taking one class in
Usually
the
the
language.
3
Mhm.
in semester.
Yeah, so it's just the IEP is just really different and pretty prestigious in that way.
And you get work experience too in a
Mhm.
foreign country. Like,
Yeah, that goes
it's-
on your
it's
resume
nothing
too.
Exactly. Yeah.
so if you're feeling midterms right now, that's your motivation.
Yeah. All right. So we have a few other topics that we're going to kind of discuss. So we can start with starting to engage in the target culture here, and then engaging in that culture once you get abroad. So here, watching videos in the language is really good. Soap operas I found in Spanish were some of them were really interesting too. So
Music is a big one. If you
Music's
can get a
huge.
Spotify playlist going, like
Mhm.
you know, I've done collaborative playlists with people in my Italian class so that we all like have a mix of different types of music, different music tastes, different from different years. And those are really helpful for just learning new vocabulary and really immersing yourself in the language so that you have to think in the language.
Mhm.
Also, I found that interviews are really nice to watch because like it's real people having a conversation.
Mhm.
So it's good to like immerse yourself in conversation that way.
And don't be afraid if you're not at a high level yet, or just getting into the language. Just hearing it and hearing that flow, hearing the
melody.
different language will help you a lot, even if you can't necessarily follow it.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised at how quickly you can improve. You know, even starting off with like slower videos that are maybe meant for people learning the language, and then going into full speed. videos would be really helpful. But don't get discouraged. Just doing what you can is extremely helpful. Other opportunities here are there's coffee hours for, I believe, all the languages.
I think every language has some sort of conversation.
So those flyers are posted around. You should be getting emails about those. I don't know the
Almost
actual
all
times and everything,
almost all of them
details.
are in either the IEP house where we are right now or the TI house. And they're a really good experience, especially since they are in the IEP and TI. A lot of times the international students that live here will come down and you'll actually get the opportunity to talk to someone that isn't a native speaker of the language, which is always a very good immersive thing.
So any level is welcome, whether you're just starting out or going abroad next year and want to improve your fluency. So that's super helpful. And then what do you guys think about once you're abroad? So, I mean, I'll start.
Actually being there?
Once you're there, I mean, it's important you're going to make friends very easily.
Wait, let's talk about did you guys have the August program?
Oh, the immersion program?
Like a summer school or something like that?
That's good.
There was an option to do like a month. So before you go, usually, so like the program starts in September, but you can go in the beginning of August for a month, and it's an immersion program for a month. And like in France, what happened, it was 4 days a week, 6 hours of French each day. And so that's really good because it improves your French like drastically. You have a native speaking professor, and then you're also with international students, so they're learning. So it's a really good like immersion.
Yeah, every language I believe has that.
I don't know about Italy.
Not sure about Italy, but for sure German, French, and Spanish all have some variation of that immersion program. So that's highly, highly suggested. It really is a good lead in to living on your own, being in that country and speaking that language, because you're with students who are also going to be doing the same thing, and everybody's a little nervous about it, but being completely immersed in that language for those 2 weeks or a month is extremely helpful.
It's a great way to like wean yourself into that country.
Yes.
And while I don't know if they have that program specifically in Italy, I'm only a sophomore, so I haven't done my year abroad, but what I have done is I found out through the IEP program that there is the program I did was through Dante Alighieri Society in Michigan, but they had a month-long opportunity to go volunteer as a camp counselor outside of Milan, live with a host family and get immersed in the culture. And there's lots of different opportunities like that if you just do your searching, pay attention to those emails that get sent out.
A lot of them are very helpful.
A lot of them are very helpful. They have these opportunities and you can just apply and
you could go before your year abroad.
Have that chance. So
like
even if you don't
week
have
or
that,
month.
like right before you go immersive experience, you can do a summer or J-term experience to just get a taste of the culture first.
Yeah,
So look out for those.
any prior experience is good experience.
And it's kind of hard to see how much it helps until you kind of get there.
Yeah.
I did there used to be a German summer school for German, obviously, here at URI, but now this past summer it changed to where they do it in Berlin. And that seems like a way cooler experience. You pay the same amount of money. If you're going to do a J-term, you can pay the same amount of money to go to Berlin and apply right in the country every day what you learn, And it's kind of really interesting to see how you can do that,
On an additional note, don't be discouraged if you don't have the funds or something to be able to do these prior programs. They're good to do if you can, but I mean, I went abroad and then did the immersion program and then went directly in. But I know students who didn't do the immersion program and were absolutely fine. So it's definitely doable without it, but it's definitely helpful if you can.
And there are like grants and things, and certain programs are better than others. Like the program I did was you only had to pay the plane ticket, and that was part of why I chose that versus going on.
So there's other options. And the immersion program I did, the one in Spain is pretty inexpensive for how long you're there, and you get, all your food is taken care of, your housing is taken care of. So all of that combined with the classes itself, it's worth the price.
There were a couple questions on the chat. They were answered real quick, but I'm gonna just reiterate what they said. Manuel asked, "Are there post-grad opportunities in the countries abroad?" And the answer that Sandra, who is our French IEP representative on the chat, and Melissa, who's what's her official title?
IEP
coordinator.
IEP coordinator.
Mhm.
So they responded that saying that depending on where your internship is and how well you do, your company could offer you a full-time position after you graduate. And that's definitely happened before.
Yeah, my company said, if you're ever in Spain or you want to stay in Spain, you know where to find us.
And you can
that's the
always
case.
look at grad schools while you are abroad if that's something that you're interested in. And there is a formal post-grad opportunity in German for the German with the German partner university, and they're looking into one for Spain. So
I definitely know the German one's pretty well known because I think the IB program started with TU Braunschweig, so they're very familiar with a lot of URI students. So I met a lot of my friends who had masters and doctorate programs there. Because in Germany it's actually more common for people to get their masters than for a bachelor. So for an American to go to Germany, for example, would be it would be easier for them to do their masters in Europe than actually do a master's in the US. So the opportunities are definitely really there.
And I think, let's see, that was the main question, but there was lots of discussion to get to that answer. So if you would like the discussion aspect, you can read the chat messages. Do we have the next other topic?
Yeah, so leading from the immersion program, so we kind of talked about preparing to go abroad, immersion program abroad, and then I think engaging when you're abroad would be the next.
Just getting out there and if you have if someone from that country, if some French person, like for example, when I was in France, asked me, "Oh, do you want to go get coffee, or do you want to do this?" Or even if I want to ask them that, I try making connections like that. Also with the music thing, like if you were to listen to music before going abroad, and say you were like hanging out with them and you said, "Oh, do you like this song?" That's like another connection point that you could have with them.
It's making friends is very, very easy when you're abroad. In basically all the countries, people love international students. So that's not something to worry about.
Also in classes, you're going to have projects where you're going to be with people, just like at URI. You connect with some people and then end up going out with them after project time.
Another thing I would suggest to do if you were actually there would be to join a club. I joined an a cappella group and a choir, and I was able to practice my German with them all the time, and at the same time also singing and playing music with them was awesome because I like to play music, and to have that to share with them was just way more fun because it made learning German more fun in that way too. Especially to hear the American perspective versus the German perspective on what music is.
Yeah, to build on that, when I was in Zaragoza, so probably this is common in other cities, I don't know for sure, but Zaragoza had a website and you could look at all the events that were going on in the city. And so I signed up for a few cooking classes, which was really cool because they taught international dishes, but in Spanish. So it was really interesting. And a lot of the activities that are offered through the cities or events like that, especially in Europe, tend to be very inexpensive. So I think it was like €3 for a cooking class, and you didn't have to pay for the food, and then you took home leftovers.
I mean, I was only in Italy for a month. Every single weekend there was a free festival in the town that I was staying, where you could just go walk around. There was local artists, there was food, there was drink. It was
there's things to do and places to meet people.
Another good resource would be ESN, which is the Erasmus Student Network, and it's a whole European Union wide organization where students from all universities have little chapters all throughout Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, everywhere in Europe, and it's so interconnected, and it's definitely a really great way to meet more international people who are probably from the U.S. or other places, and it's cool because they do events too. You know?
Yeah, and that's also a great type of club to join if you're looking to travel but are not necessarily sure who to travel with, or and you don't want to travel alone. They do a lot of organized type trips, so that's a great opportunity.
Like exploring the city, or maybe even going to another city nearby, or doing a hike. It's really interesting to kind of see that, because you get local people who are from there, and they get to show you something that you may not see at being a tourist or something, you know.
So it's very easy to get involved if you let yourself get involved.
Yeah. Also, I went to like the cinema in France. I saw The Lion King in French, so that's like just like a little example you can.
I saw something you can Aladdin when it came out.
Yeah, and it's nice going to the cinema, really seeing the difference between their cinema and yours. Like, do they serve popcorn?
Yeah, their food is way cheaper there at the theaters.
I bet.
Do they serve popcorn? Oh.
I don't know. Places.
Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. So another question for discussion would be how to get over the fear of speaking another language. So I think the best thing with that is practice. If you're there, practice. And once you're there, it's not as scary. Like you think about it, and like I had a ton of anxiety before going abroad, like, oh, my Spanish isn't good enough, I'm not going to be able to understand any of my professors. But then you get there and you kind of adjust. There is an adjustment period. Like the first week I was like, I have no idea what's going on. But after that you just get used to it, and then you have much more ability than you think you do.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. Like if you've spent 4 or 5 years learning that language, you get to apply it every day in the real world where they speak it, you know. But I think the biggest thing to overcome your fear is a lot of people think about what they want to say and maybe forget the word. The easiest way is if you have the word, try and go around it, and you'll be able to improve your language. Also at the same time, getting your conversation and your point through, and you're not spending more time thinking about the word than you are trying to get your message through, because meaning is more important than just that one word.
The other thing, like before you even go abroad, like those conversations hours that we talked about, a huge part is just not being like test on it. The fact that if your only exposure to it is taking the class, and being, taking vocab quizzes and things like that, you're not going to be as excited to use it because it feels like work. You need to make it like a piece of your life, really, and make sure that you're having fun with it. And those conversation hours, trying to find chat groups or YouTube videos that you genuinely enjoy, that are also using some aspect of the culture or the language.
And the other thing is, I mean, they're not judging you. They know you're not going to be perfect. They know your grammar is not going to be perfect. I mean, the people you meet and the people you're talking to, as long as you can vaguely get your point across, they're going to know what's going on, and they're going to, help you through it as well. So, I mean, your grammar does not have to be absolutely perfect. Don't be afraid of, I was overthinking a lot when I got there, trying to do all the conjugations, and I would just stop mid-sentence. But you don't have to worry about that. Just kind of let it flow. And if it's wrong, but there's no consequences.
Think of it when you're like talking to when you're in the USA and you're talking to someone foreign, you're not judging them at all when they're making mistakes. You're like, oh yeah, they're trying, they're talking to me. You continue the conversation.
Just from the opposite direction.
Honestly, the most I got was I worked at a kids camp, so the kids didn't have as much of a filter. But what they said was like, why do you have an accent? Where are you from? What are you doing here? Kind of thing. And
they're interested.
It's like it's a conversation starter. They are excited to find out. It's like when you had an exchange student at your high school, where it's something new and exciting. So they are very happy to talk to you and teach you things about their culture and share things with you.
Did we have another comment?
Yes. How does cost of living compare to here when you're studying or working abroad?
Okay, to be honest, it was a lot less expensive than I anticipated. At least in my city specifically. I can't talk about the other ones, but my rent was like less than 200 euros a month. It was dirt cheap.
Mine's
Like a
around
dirt
the
cheap.
same.
And so
300
yeah.
euros during my in Compiègne. So in France, you do the 6 months studying in Compiègne, and it was 200 to 300 there. And then during my internship, my rent was like 600, between 500 and 600 because it changed.
Germany was like about 400 or so for the semester when I lived in Aachen in Braunschweig, and then also about 400 again, a little more for my apartment in Stuttgart.
I got super lucky.
Yeah, you guys both got
But
lucky.
but I guess it depends kind of where you are.
Yeah, what city.
It's affordable.
My
Yeah.
internship was more expensive because I was in Paris, so the rent's going to be higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends where you choose to go for your internship portion, at least. And then as well as, I mean, it's not just rent, there's other costs associated. You don't need a car, you don't need to pay for gas. Public transport is usually very reasonably priced, especially if you get like the city card. At least in my city, it was like 70 cents one way, which is, again, ridiculously
Super,
inexpensive. And then, you know, food is also very inexpensive.
I was able to buy groceries for myself for about €20 a week, and I cooked for myself 2 meals a day.
Yeah, and I got like gourmet cheeses and stuff like every week because it's
Definitely get the
way
fancy
less
cheese.
expensive there. So pick out the grocery items that you know you're going to be paying a lot of money for here.
Yeah.
They're just gonna
And during your internship, you're getting paid.
Yes.
For that.
You
So
get a paid
usually-
internship.
Usually.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee all the time, but
Yeah.
most of them are paid.
Yes.
everyone in France got paid.
I think the same for Germany too. I'm not sure.
And Spain, it depended. Some people went the research route, which was
Oh,
unpaid,
yeah.
but then the ones in industry, I believe, were paid. So you have the option again of looking for something else if you don't like necessarily the one that you've been
Yeah, I came back from
guided
France with
towards.
cash.
Same.
But like there's
Yep.
there's ways to make it work for everybody, really.
Also, there's scholarships. There's
Yeah.
like demers.
so there's
you can apply to.
big scholarships. I think 8 people maybe when we went abroad got.
All of us?
How many people got demers?
I don't know.
There's a lot.
It's like half the French IP.
Yeah, and demers is
Wow.
like it's a huge sum of money.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
between $10,000 and $20,000.
Yeah.
So that could
That-
literally fund your entire
Yeah,
trip.
that can help.
So
you out.
there's a lot of scholarships that are specifically for international, and because this program is so unique in that it's an entire year, you're very likely to get these scholarships, especially demers, which for that specific scholarship, it gives priority to URI students. So it's almost exclusively all URI IEP students who get that each year. So that's a really cool
Yeah, they're
opportunity.
very generous.
Mhm.
There's also, I think there's also some scholarship opportunities for specific languages. Like German, for example, has DAAD, which is like a U.S. German political I want to say alliance, but they're more friends. So they take German like teachers and stuff and send them to the U.S. and vice versa for the U.S. And they have opportunities for students to also go to Germany and get paid to do jobs. I think one of my friends, Tim, was getting paid through DAD, and he got like a monthly stipend just from his scholarship.
Oh, the other thing we didn't mention is if you are out of state, the tuition you pay for your semester abroad is in state. So that also makes it more affordable. I'm out of state, so that brought down the cost for me. It was, I think, actually cheaper that semester for me to go abroad than it was to stay here. So why not?
Yeah.
It's
Next question. All right, we got strategies for managing the workload of IEP.
They're still discussing the cost of living on there.
What else?
There's more information about the cost of living in the chat. If anyone
I
Yeah,
think
Please join
there's
the discussion.
yeah.
if you want to join the discussion on the chat, or the chat should be saved with this video.
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
you
You'll
can
be able
scroll
to
through
see
the chat to get some other insights from Melissa and the other
Mhm.
ambassadors. on
There's a
there.
lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'll need to be around
That was
the
just
fire.
some of our experience for that.
All right. So the workload of
Workload of
IEP.
IEP. So workload of IEP, it is one extra class every
For the whole 5
semester.
years. Yeah.
And
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
The language
it's-
is the easy part.
The language,
GPA
yeah.
booster, like,
Yeah.
honestly,
It's nice when you have like 5 engineering classes and then to kind of give yourself a break with that language class. I found it helpful in that way. Of course, it is a little additional work, but there's a lot of resources for you to take advantage of. There's Spanish tutoring, or not, sorry, very specifically
language
Spanish.
tutoring.
Language tutoring.
Yeah.
For if you need help with that. You're also in the same boat as a lot of the other students who are doing it, so it makes it a lot more bearable. And so, just make those kind of tight-knit groups, and you will get through it.
Yeah, it definitely is kind of a nice like break from engineering work because you're like using a different part of your brain.
Yeah.
Using languages.
And forming those little cohorts of like other IEPers is a huge part of it. It just keeps you very involved with the program. So if you can find anyone like in your year, especially, so that that like minimizes the impact of coming back for a 5th year after maybe some of your friends have graduated that didn't do IEP, having that extra support network of people going through the same thing as you.
Yeah, and again, if you don't have that support network, don't be worried about it. When you hit that 3rd year, you're going to, whether you like it or not.
I think it kind of ties into resources, but if there is any opportunity to try and go abroad, like J-term or whatever, and highly recommend doing it because I took my J-term to Germany my sophomore year, and after that I was so set. I'm like, I'm going to learn my language, really take it more seriously, and it really just drove me to do more and go further with my language.
You really got to find the things that makes it exciting to you because that's the whole point of this. The reason you're doing this is because it is an exciting and fun thing to be doing, and you got to find the reasons to do that. And it's different for everyone. Some people really love the culture. I know Dylan, who was a Chinese ambassador, he's not here, but he told the story about how he went there and just got really into dancing. And now it's just a huge part of his life, and that's what made it exciting for him. So if you find those little things,
things to look forward to,
Yeah.
and all of it's for the specific purpose of being able to spend that year abroad, and being able to communicate successfully there, and it's very, very rewarding when you're able to do that. Not only intrinsically for yourself, but extrinsically for employers and job opportunities as well.
Yeah, I think the year abroad is a really good learning experience, like how you work in a completely new environment and just kind of be so kind of like diving deep into water again and not even knowing what to do and learning how to swim again and kind of a really weird analogy, but it definitely kind of makes sense.
No,
Where
it's
it's
true.
like,
It's a new environment. Really new environment. New things.
You learn a lot about
exactly.
yourself. You adapt a lot.
You come back and it's almost like you just kind of like, well, I have my new ways to swim and that's kind of it. Yeah, it's really crazy. It's kind of hard to explain it.
We have some questions about conversation hour on the chat. So what do you usually do in the language conversation hour? Just walk in and have free conversation? And then also, do you think students should pass proficiency tests prior to study abroad? So want to talk about conversation hours first?
Sure. So at least I can speak from my experience with the Spanish one. Sometimes it is, free-flowing conversation, just trying to get everybody to, pitch in, talk. Sometimes it's more structured, like we've had scavenger hunts, in Spanish. Oh yeah, like Pictionary in Spanish, games like that. So it's like fun activities. It tends to be different every time, not necessarily, but the
goal is to try to have people talking.
Yeah, to try to kind of get everybody,
whether if it's in a small group or a big, maybe you get into smaller groups, or if it's one big group thing.
Yeah, games are usually the easiest, the more fun to do. I like to, in German we played we would get a sticky note, write down the name of a celebrity or someone, and then give the sticky note to the right person, put it on their forehead, and you say, who am I? Yeah. And then so you have to use like, oh, am I this? Am I that? Yeah.
And again, don't be afraid about the level you're at.
Yeah.
It's very
even if you're in
catered to everyone.
Italian 100, you're still learning your basic vocab. It's still good to hear
Yeah.
hear the sound of the language. It's
Yeah.
the same thing as watching videos and music. Hearing it used in real life is different from reading it or speaking it in class.
And again, it's an opportunity to be able to speak with no repercussions. If you're wrong, it doesn't matter. And so that's a really nice opportunity. Whereas in class, sometimes it's hard to speak up because you are afraid of getting something wrong.
Yeah. Another thing, I don't know if they're doing this for French or Spanish or Italian, but German is doing tandem partners. So there's a few Germans, there's a few Germans in the TI house or off campus, and they're trying to meet American students so that they can do like half times in German, half times in English. And it doesn't matter what your level is, but you get to meet someone from Germany and you get to learn about their culture. And I think the biggest thing is also to kind of share what the cultural differences are between those two, you know. It's sometimes it's subtler than you think.
Yeah. I know at the moment, at least for, let's see, there's Italians in the IAPS, there's Spanish, French, German, Japanese. I think the only one that we don't have is Chinese right now.
Really?
So they'll come to the conversation
In the
hours.
IAPS. Yeah.
Like
So-
actual French people or actual Spanish people
Yeah.
living in the
Native
IEP house.
speakers.
Yeah, native speakers.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
They'll come to the conversation hour, so you're getting the real,
Yeah.
real.
And there's
Accent.
some things that
Yeah.
like you're taught in class, like you're taught an idiomatic
Relaxing.
expression, and then you talk to a native speaker and they're like, oh, that's just the southern region. The north doesn't use that.
Mhm.
And
Or
things
that's
like that.
old.
And that's like, yeah, that's an
Yeah.
old, that's a phrase that I know you're a
Mhm.
foreign speaker. And those are like interesting little cultural things to hear.
Yeah.
That you're only going to get from talking to native
Yeah.
speakers.
What was the other question?
The other question was about language proficiency tests. Melissa was answering that on here. I can read out what she said. There are general guidelines of where the students should aim to be by the time they go abroad, but it varies by language, and it's communicated by the partner university and the IEP director. So it's kind of a case by case basis. So, you can be a little bit below the proficiency that you should be at, but if you work on it with the director and communicate, you can still go abroad and make it work. And then the language department is working on setting like official goals for the proficiency. And depending on the program, there are the intensive immersion courses that we already talked about, that pre-month or
Prepare
2
you a
weeks
little
that
bit.
do that, like
Yeah.
introducing you to the
So if necessary, you can
Yeah.
get those additional skills before you go abroad. So
Yeah.
I mean, nobody ever feels prepared.
Yeah.
You could be
You
at
never.
the highest proficiency level and you could still be
And
not feeling it.
I think also most of the universities in Europe, they already have programs for every level of that language, because the European Union is trying to, like, not globally, but throughout the whole union, teach their language to anyone from any other country. So the chances of you being in like a A2 or B1 level class, you'll be in with someone from like some people from India or people from China. It's not just Americans, there's other people who are in there too. So proficiency doesn't really matter, because once when you go to the university, they might assess you. I don't know if they assessed you guys. Oh, they did that for Germany.
Oh, for the immersion program?
Like, if
yes,
you go
but
in,
not the university.
Yeah, because we had to pick our classes based on our level after that.
Mhm.
So then,
Mhm.
like after that, kind of caters to how you handle, and you go from there.
So it's a case by case basis, but regardless, as long as you are keeping up with the classes, doing your best to, try to learn the language, you're not going to have an issue with going abroad.
Yeah.
The other thing is even if your like proficiency, your grammar is not great, that's fine. If you're still willing to go forward and try it,
Mhm.
that's a better sign than having perfect grammar
But not speaking.
but not
Yeah.
using it ever.
Yeah.
If you have terrible grammar but can actually speak
You
words
can carry
to
on
someone,
a conversation.
yeah,
That's the
then
most
you're-
important thing
Yeah.
for getting
Or
Getting started.
Or
Getting
getting groceries.
Yeah, going to the grocery store and being
Yeah.
like, "Where's the bananas?"
Yeah.
I mean, think
Yeah,
about
that's good enough.
think about how like a kid learns. When a kid is learning a language when it's a child, they always make mistakes, but it's only because when we grow older, we make these barriers where we're thinking so much that we don't want to make mistakes.
Mhm.
But how else are you going to learn? And it's so natural to just make mistakes that you'll fix them eventually,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Honestly, the parts of Italian grammar that I'm the best at are the ones that I messed up the first times that I tried to use it.
But yeah, regardless, and your proficiency level will drastically increase when you're abroad, regardless of where you start. So, I mean, and it tends to be that the lower you are when you start, the more it increases, just because, I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just a really great way to get your proficiency level, very high, somewhere you didn't even think possible originally.
Okay. No more. Well, there was a quick question about the tandem German thing, but Melissa answered that one.
Okay.
So,
We got. It's like 9:40. When do we want to?
we said at least a half an hour, up to an hour.
So we can keep going.
We
Yeah.
can keep going if there's more to
Let me
talk
see if
about.
there's a few more questions. So let me see if I can pick one that we haven't already.
Yeah,
touched
one
on.
that's like a
What's working? We haven't talked about
Working.
at all.
like the
Let's touch
internship.
upon that.
What was
Yeah.
it like?
Yeah.
Working, just working in another culture.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
so
fun one, yeah.
yeah, so we've touched upon, kind of getting there. We've touched upon the first, studying abroad, and then you have your internship abroad, which I think is probably the one of the most nerve-wracking things is going into a company and speaking technically in that language is something difficult and a big adjustment, but kind of at least in my experience, the company I worked with was very, very nice. All of the employees were very, very understanding, and they spent, a lot of probably extra time with me, teaching me, the specific technical terms I would need to succeed there. Like I was working with power converters for elevators, so I had to learn all of the terms for, you wire this, you weld that, the capacitors, if it's all of that. And so obviously that's things you can't really prepare for because you don't know what type of company you're going to be working for necessarily. Could be automotive, could be kind of whatever. And so that's kind of like once you get in the door, you adapt to that. But for the most part, it's really, really interesting and fulfilling to be working 8 hours a day in that language, writing in that language, technical documents, speaking in that language, listening to the other people and really being able to immerse yourself. I think my language skills dramatically increased during that 6-month internship versus during the study abroad, just because I was also so involved in speaking in that part.
Yeah. Did you stay in Saragossa?
Yes, I stayed in Zaragoza for my internship as well because I loved the city. I did not want to move. So I found an internship there, which would let me stay, and I went from there.
And I had to move from North Germany, Braunschweig, where I studied, down to Stuttgart, which is in Baden-Württemberg near Bavaria. And down there they speak a different dialect, but it was kind of funny to kind of meet the people. So when I had my internship, it was really it was interesting. I was really afraid to get a job because I didn't know if I could get a job, and I was really lucky that my advisor Sigrid was able to help me get in contact with the company. So, and I was ready to speak the language. So in the same way, I was just determined to make sure that my language was going to improve with them, and it was crazy. Just to I wanted, I came there and I was like, okay, I want to improve my language as much as I can for the last 6 months, and that's what I did. I found German roommates, two of my friends, and and I just spend all the time with my coworkers speaking with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really it's a part of the culture that you would never see if you were to go to the country and just go see some things. Like you're sitting at a desk or you're doing research, something. You're doing engineering things that you possibly might be doing in your future as an engineer. They're applicable things that may actually affect the real world. So I mean, the research that I kind of did with Bosch was I don't know if it's ever going to be going towards the real world, but I know that it really helped them, and they may or may not be using my presentations now because of all the work I put in for it. It's definitely it's helped. It's kind of like a mutual benefit. And also another thing is your advisors usually have good contact with the companies when you're there. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're just someone new or random, unless you choose to go somewhere where you want to go for random, But but your advisors are there to help you out. It's not like you're just there all alone.
On that note too, that's why this program itself is also so special, because a lot of students may study abroad, but an internship abroad is something that very, very few people can say they've done. And that gives you a whole nother aspect to your language skills. Exactly.
Yeah. What did you do, Prince?
I worked for Total, and I did ice engineering.
Ice engineering?
Yeah, ice engineering. So I'm at URI. I'm ocean engineering, and I found this internship and the title was interactions between offshore structures and ice. And I'm kind of on the civil side of ocean engineering, so marine offshore structures. It's interesting to me, and forces on structures offshore. It's like, okay, I'll do this. And Total's a really big company. I was in a room with people from actually all over the world: China, Russia, Spain, and people from France, obviously. One cool thing about the French working environment is they have these coffee breaks, so the whole room just gets up and goes gets coffee together, and you're just talking. It's a really nice way to enjoy each other's company outside of working. I was able to travel also for my job. I went to Germany and the Netherlands, Delft. And I worked with people from Finland, Germany, and the Netherlands. So that's another really good thing I can put on my resume, because I had a multinational group of engineers to work with. So that helped me build a new level of communication skills, and
just to build slightly more so your director will help you find internships. For example, my director found me 2 different internships in Barcelona, but I wanted to stay in Zaragoza. So I reached out to companies on my own that way and found an internship that way. So in that way, the program is very flexible. So if you want to do something, it's usually possible if you put in, that effort and the time to make it what you want. The other thing is, at least for the Spanish IEP, you do have an opportunity to study abroad in one country and then switch to another country for your internship. So that's very unique.
France too. You could have your internship in Switzerland and I think Luxembourg. I don't know if that's right, but definitely Switzerland.
Yeah. So people in the Spanish IEP have done Spain to Chile. And also there's been other internships before in Mexico or other countries. So it's flexible. And if there's something that you want to do that you're willing to try to do, that's usually also another option.
Big thing is just go for it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
yeah.
I just emailed companies. I found
Just
emails.
Try it. Sometimes it won't work, but if you keep,
I heard
if
back-
you just keep trying at different things.
I actually heard back
Go
from
with it.
0 companies and then saw that a recruiter on LinkedIn had looked at my profile and then messaged them on LinkedIn and got the job. So you really just gotta go for it. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does, and I landed at a great company that I would have never had the opportunity to do else.
Did you guys get paid vacation?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. At least for my company, they were very, very lenient and very nice about me traveling because they knew I was really wanted to travel abroad. So I think I got, in the 6 months, I got like 12 days off.
I got
paid.
6. I got
6
6
days
days
off.
off.
And then they
Right,
also let
contract.
me take off extra days. They were very nice and very lenient. So they were also like, if you want to, work extra hours that week and take off the Friday for extra days off, they were like, you can do that. So obviously it depends on the company. My company was very small, so they could allow me to do things like that. If you work for a bigger company, it might be more standard. But usually the companies will be very accepting of the fact that you are there to learn, you are there to work, but you are also there to be able to have the opportunity to travel. And they do, for the most part, understand that.
I also think the European lifestyle is more focused on
Balance.
Work-life balance, very
you know.
much so.
My German coworkers were very like, okay, we do our work like from 7 to 2, and then we're gone. And like I never saw them. But because they just separated their work from their personal life so like distinctly, it was absurd. But
they love their vacation.
They're nice hour-long coffee breaks.
Oh yeah, in France, like one of my friends had a 2-hour lunch break.
Wow,
so nice.
That's nice.
And they also they were completely surprised when I told them that like in high school I had a summer job and that like I work during the semester now because for them if you're a student you're a student. So it's a very different lifestyle and approach to things. It's something to adjust to while you're there.
But it's a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
It's also really nice to have a weekend free. It's so nice.
Yeah.
If you're getting paid, you work Monday to Friday. You have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do whatever you want, and you just go back to work.
It's a really nice break
actually
right
really
after
nice.
junior year because junior year is
horrible.
It's a hard one.
arguably the worst year.
You get a little like during your internship, you get a little taste of what it will be like after working, after going to university. And it's nice because you're like, wow, I don't need to do homework after.
What? It's a little hard to come back, but you get back into the swing of things, and with a new perspective, that's really helpful as well. Was there another comment?
There was a little while ago asking about how different are the semesters structured when you're studying over there?
Okay, so semester-wise, depending on the country, the semesters start and end in different months. And I think for the most part, the semesters there, they don't have a Christmas break like we do. They do, but their finals are after the break.
Yeah,
Same
for France.
I think that's
okay.
how
So Spain,
Italy works.
Spain, France, German, yes. Italy probably.
I mean, I haven't been there, done it myself, but I was living with people that had. I mean, my roommate now.
Classes started like the 10th.
Yeah, we had my classes started. I think it was late, but it depended where you were in Spain. They started like a month apart, which was strange.
Mine started in October.
And I think one of the schools in Spain, I believe, does end before Christmas. So depending on if that's something that matters to you, that could be a determining factor for which university you choose. But overall, their system is, you do the semester and then you have a break and then you have your finals.
Also, you may get holidays. For example, in France, we had 1 week off in October. So that was really nice to I was able to travel to Italy.
Yeah, I did get a
Places.
few. We had a few holidays because I traveled during the semester as well.
Yeah.
Same holidays are pretty nice.
Yeah.
Germany is super Catholic, so they respect a lot of Catholic holidays.
And then yeah, structure wise, I hope that's what the question was asking.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not sure if I answered it correctly.
Yeah.
I think they were just asking about like timeline.
Yeah.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
things
That
like
would be the
September
timeline.
to like
I don't know.
mid-December. You have your Christmas break, and then you have finals after.
And then actual like
then you're
class wise, you are a full-time student, so you take 4 classes or more if you'd like. And so, you know, those classes are in your language. And so, you know.
And then after finals was like the second or first week of January. Then you have like a little break, 3 weeks or 2 weeks, something like that.
Depending.
And then you start, and yeah, depending on when
Depending,
you start your
my
internship.
because my school started very late, my last final was mid-February. And so I started my internship like directly after, but I also had a 3-week break between classes and finals, so I traveled then.
I had 1 week break, like for Christmas, and then finals, and then like 3 or 2 weeks break, and then my internship started.
So it depends on the university, but that's something you can for sure
Yeah.
find online. The university options are listed on the IEP website, and then you can go to their websites and see their academic calendars with their schedules and all of that.